Mike Moore Media.
I'm delighted to be talking with our friends at the Old Farmer's Almanac, and today we're talking about the 2024 Garden Guide. Oh my goodness, it's filled with so many wonderful things, and on the line is editor Carol Canair. Hey Carol, how are you?
Good morning. Thanks for having me, Mike.
Oh, my goodness. Yes, the Old Farmer's Almanac, one of our favorites for such a long time. And the Garden Guide is out now. We can get the print edition. We can get it online. So let's take a look at that together, Carol, filled with beautiful colors and helpful tips and expert advice on growing things. What are some of the big stories in the Garden Guide this year we need to talk about, Carol?
Well, I think that you'll find in this year's Garden Guide not only tons of color and ideas, but really answering to the trends that we are seeing with gardeners. I don't know about you, but wherever I go, I see more and more people putting raised beds and container gardens together. Mm-hmm. And so we have a story all about that. Gardens of containment, how to garden in any kind of a space situation.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
And so that's popular with everybody. It's also really good in terms of accessibility. Kind of gardeners of any age can garden in containers.
Sure.
So that's a fun one.
Yeah. And you mentioned that right up front here. Gardening trends, that's always popular with the Garden Guide. So we're looking at flowers and herbs and vegetables and all kinds of good things.
Yes, people are really gearing up toward planting things that are not just beautiful but also edible. And again, we see a lot of trend in that way of like even having patio pots full of beans and tomatoes. There's a lot more opportunities for community gardening, and we cover that in several stories in the Garden Guide. People that are sharing plots of land and also knowledge along the way. And then we're seeing so much interest in different kinds of fragrant flowers because aroma does so much for our feeling better and feeling good. And so things that you can put in your garden, but also houseplants that have wonderful aromas is another trend we're picking up on.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah, those fragrances are so nice, and that's kind of maybe a subliminal thing that they're there and we don't really know what we appreciate, and our senses appreciate that too. So yeah, that's good in the Garden Guide to read about. Let's talk a little bit about houseplants. Always popular.
Always popular. And again, this is, we see a lot of people wanting to just increase their houseplant knowledge. And so we have a story all about the easiest houseplants, but also are pretty exotic looking. So, pothos is a plant that we see in every office. It's mm-hmm. kind of that green leafed plant. But there's other varieties that are also easy to grow that can kind of up your houseplant game. Ideas for things that you can, bring outside in warmer weather and bring back inside. And also things like air plants. I don't know if you know about these, mm-hmm. but these are air plants, and they don't really need a lot of attention. And so for somebody just wanting to jump in, they're a great solution to putting green in your life and in your home.
Mm-hmm. Sure, yeah. Some people don't have a really good green thumb, so to speak, so those are easy, aren't they?
They are. These are the places to start
yeah, okay.
and gain some skills and confidence.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. I see something here on matrix planting. I don't know that term. What is that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an interesting concept, and it has some different names. But what that means is we call it. It's kind of design, plant, and repeat. So if you take a section of your garden or your yard, and you might square that off, and you put, okay, these 3 or 4 plants, and then you repeat that pattern throughout a larger area, that gives you, you can use a lot of native plants. You can choose plants that keep it sort of weed-free. It's a lawn alternative in some ways. So it's a nice way to think about doing a bigger project, but in smaller doses, because you can really pick and choose these plants. Okay, these are going to do well. These are the heights I want. And then just keep using those across whatever land you have that you want to do that with. So that's just a very kind of interesting and systematic approach to populating your yard.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Very nice. Well, we all love hanging baskets, and there's a story in the Garden Guide about hanging baskets this time.
Absolutely. Again, back to the whole container trend, baskets can be flowers and they can also be edible things, and how to keep them wonderful and good looking. A lot of people love baskets, but they take some attention, and so we talk you through how much attention, maybe some of the ways to reduce the work. They do need a lot of water typically, and so, kind of the best pots and where to put them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. Wait a minute here. I see a story about growing cannabis. Can we do that?
Absolutely. Well, it depends on what state you live in.
Okay.
I think we're up to 38 states that you can grow in, and also in Canada, which the Garden Guide is distributed in Canada also.
Mm-hmm.
So this is, yes, it's our first foray into teaching people how to grow cannabis. It's really a basic guide for an outdoor grower, much like many people in our universe grow annual and perennial herbs. This is an annual herb with a few different things needed along the way. Mm-hmm. So you'll find that in the Garden Guide also.
Yeah, okay. Well, you mentioned herbs. So there's always good information in the Old Farmer's Almanac about growing herbs and vegetables and flowers and fruits. What about, let's stay outside a little bit there with shrubs and lawns and trees and things like that, because there's good information in the 2024 Garden Guide about that too.
Absolutely. Again, people are really looking for plants in their landscapes that can tolerate different weather. Lots of people are seeing more extreme weather depending on where you live. Maybe it's drier, maybe it's warmer. And so talking about things in trees and how landscapes can change and be protected over time, we have several plot plans, and we talk to several passionate gardeners who are deep into that work. And so you'll find that in the pages of the Garden Guide as well.
Okay. In case you just tuned in, we're talking about the Old Farmer's Almanac Garden Guide for 2024, and Carol Kinnear is the editor. And you're somewhat new there at the Old Farmer's Almanac, but you are only the 14th editor, and that says a lot because that publication has been around so long.
Exactly. It's my honor to be the 14th editor in 233 years.
Oh, wow.
And I took over the helm from Janice Stillman, who I know you know and mm-hmm. is also a great friend. And, I big shoes to fill, but also I used to be part of the Yankee Publishing family, who publishes the Old Farmer's Almanac, when I was an editor at Yankee Magazine 22 years ago. So it's actually a return for me. And as an avid gardener and sky watcher and all these wonderful things that the Almanac talks about all the time, it's a really great fit, and I'm thrilled to be here.
Oh, wow. Well, we're glad you're there, Carol. So really kind of welcome back, and it's a delight to talk to you today. I wanted to mention, you said something about the weather a moment ago, and of course the Garden Guide and the Old Farmer's Almanac always filled with the important weather information we need too, and this year no exception.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you're a gardener of any stripe, you're going to want to know mm-hmm. what the weather's going to do, because you need to know if you're watering or if you are not watering, or if you're protecting, or when you can plant. We all have different frost dates. One thing that's wonderful about Almanac.com, I know that you've discovered that, is that you can just type in your zip code and you can get planting dates for all the herbs, fruits, and vegetables you want for your area specific to you, both by the moon phase and by the frost dates. And so lots of advice that is plant-specific on Almanac.com, and also, region and zip code, literally your town specific, which I use that all the time myself. It's just a wonderful resource. So I would urge your listeners to take a look at that.
Oh, sure. You're oldfarmersalmanac.com, type in your zip code, and you're going to be right at your fingertips, have all kinds of wonderful information. Well, I want to get to a couple of other things before time runs out, but we've got to talk about a favorite topic, and that's heirloom tomatoes. So let's go there, Carol.
Right. We can't say enough about tomatoes. If we had an entire book about tomatoes, I think our readers and maybe your listeners would be happy. So this is a wonderful story all about heirloom tomatoes in this year's garden guide. And it really talks about tomatoes by your use. Like, are you someone who cans? Are you someone who, just loves a BLT or a tomato sandwich? Mm-hmm. Do you make tomato juice? And so this wonderful tomato expert tells us the varieties and also tips for growing certain tomatoes perfect for those uses.
Okay, that's wonderful advice right there. Yeah, we do love our tomatoes down south here, that's for sure. And our tomato sandwiches, I wish I had one right now. That you've kind of mentioned that. Yeah, but you're up in Maine, so before time runs out, we've got to talk a little bit about the eclipse. So how did things go there for you, Carol?
Well, I'm in New Hampshire, actually.
New Hampshire,
the Old Farmer's Almanac is published, and so in our own parking lot, we were at 96%.
Oh, wow.
But many of our staff members drove a couple of hours, and we've got some lovely photographs. Believe it or not, it was a clear day, which, given the weather lately in our neck of the woods, that was a gift. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So many, many, many people saw it. There wasn't any traffic jams that was maybe predicted. How about you?
Yeah. Well, I was about 3:25 here in kind of Piedmont or Triad, North Carolina. We're almost on the, you may know, almost on the North Carolina-Virginia border, but about 3:25 I was in the downtown area, and everyone was out on the sidewalks, and it was so exciting. And it was absolutely beautiful. Yeah, oh my goodness, quite an experience for sure.
Absolutely. And so many people getting to experience it together. It's fun to listen to everyone's takeaway and just the moment that everybody kind of had a collective breath.
Sure, yeah. But there in New Hampshire, how fortunate for you, 98%. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, it was really beautiful, and to just be able to step outside and witness that miracle.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. And I see a lot of that here at oldfarmersalmanac.com as well, and so we can follow things there too. What are your favorites in the way of fruits and vegetables, perhaps, and flowers this spring planting season there, Carol? Your personal favorites.
Well, I'm someone who really likes to plant things to eat, and so hardy kiwi is something that I'm learning about, which is a smaller kiwi that we can grow up here. You get a little bit more leeway down in the south. I always like to do container plants for my deck, and I love those big elephant ears, the purple elephant ears, so I'll be putting some of those in. In my garden, I love fennel, and so I put a lot of that in. I'll be putting those in probably, before mid-May to be safe around these parts.
Yep. Okay.
So those are some of the things I'm looking forward to.
Very good. Well, I hope you have a wonderful gardening season, and all the best. I remind everyone that the Old Farmer's Almanac Garden Guide 2024 available now, and it's only $7.99 print edition, online only $5.99. And be sure to go to oldfarmersalmanac.com for more information. Anything else? We've got about a minute here remaining. Carol, you wanted to mention?
Well, I would just say, if people want to get started, that's the biggest thing, is just jump right in. Again, like the idea of containers and houseplants, they're easy to manage. And so for anybody who's a beginner, I think you'll find a lot of stuff in the garden guide that's applicable to you. We kind of gear it toward lots of people that have been gardening for years, but also just people ready to say, hey, it's my year to start. So I think there's tons of inspiration and information for people of all levels.
Always. Yep, you said it quite well there. Well, Carol, delight to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time, and wishing you all the best there in your garden and your fruits and vegetables and flowers and all of that. Mm-hmm. And we'll talk again, I hope.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, that's Carol Kinnair. She is editor of the Old Farmer's Almanac Garden Guide. Again, please go to the website for more information, oldfarmersalmanac.com.